I'm not sure what we're going to get into because I'm kind of disjointed as to what I remember from them. But I wanted to do this song because obviously if the YouTube algorithm thinks I'll like it, maybe I will, you know? So let's give it a try. I don't know. I don't have anything to go off of. Rammstein, Deutschland. Let's give it a go. Why don't people do that when they speak German? I'm sorry if I did that. I know it's... should have just said it kindly. First of all, you know, like just to give y'all a background on me, I'm in the filmmaker space now. I was 13 years as a crisis counselor, but during that time I was also working in film and cinema. And so I love to dive into the cinematics and the filmmaking aspect of some of these videos, and they got me right now. They got me hooked. Like I'm sure the song is great, but I'm like this story, like I'm really interested as what's going on here. So I know, knowing that it's titled this, and we're seeing these two factions coming against each other. I'm pretty interested to see, are we doing like a historical account, a period piece? But I'm loving the color that they're using too. This beautiful blue that they're bringing through to make you feel cold and dark and like edged. So. Getrennt, im Herz vereint. All right, now he's starting the lyrics. Obviously, they're in German. I do not speak German, though. When I go through my doctorate for hermeneutics, the individual who will be instructing me, or at least guiding me through that, is from Germany. And one of the languages I could pick as I go through that is German. I did not pick German. I picked Koine Greek, so I don't know German. I would like to look up the lyrics. I may put them up the next time this gets going. I may pull them up and see if there's an English translation, but we jumped some periods here. So we were far back, and now we're kind of looking like 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe early 1900s. So I want it to catch me up, and I was wrong on the music. It's very heavy, and I'm wondering, I'm going to go back and listen to Deuschland later and catch myself up with that too. I guess I could have done that before, but I like the surprise of a lot of this, so I'll go listen to it and maybe get familiar with it again. I like the drive. Like, I love the music. Like, I'm loving it. Like, this is a cool song so far.
Wir sind schon sehr lang zusammen. Dein Atem kalt, das Herz in Flammen.
Scoot back a little bit because they're going to start into something there, and I want to make sure I catch it from the beginning. I'm going to try to get the lyrics up here. I know I said I was going to do that, but I'm also trying to stop a few times because I want to respect the artist and this band. It is their property, so I don't want to play it all the way through as to just exploit them. It is their property, it's their music, so I need to make sure that I'm stopping every once in a while, providing commentary and transforming the content. So that's what I'm doing when I stop. Understand that I would love to listen to this song, and I will afterwards, full all the way through. But for now, I need to stop. But I do have the lyrics up, and it's "My heart is in flames, Germany. My heart is in flames. Want to love you, want to damn you." Whew. You know, we had a foreign exchange student live with us here in America, and he was from near Frankfurt, and he lived with us for about a year. And he spoke about a sentiment like this, where it is a very conflicting feeling, the pride of Germany, but at the same time, we all know, and understandably, there is, and I have to be careful how I say this, there is some things that were put onto Germany that were a little heavier handed. There are some things that are deserved. Let's just be honest. There are some that are deserved, but there are some that were not. And so it's a very complex and controversial history that Germany has. I want to be very careful how I talk about this too, because you can make a lot of enemies quick with this topic, and I'm sure you're aware. And so I want to handle it carefully. But it's diving into something pretty heavy, it seems like.
Ich will dich nie verlassen. Man kann dich lieben und will dich hassen. Überheblich, überlegen, übernehmen, übergeben, überraschen, überfallen. Deutschland, Deutschland über allen. Mein Herz in Flammen, will dich lieben und verdammen. Dein Atem kalt, so jung und doch so alt. Deine.
Okay, I caught that because I'm watching the lyrics, but you can actually hear it. You can hear it. So young and yet so old. Think about that. That's a really deep statement. Because Germany is very old, but not really. Just in border, sure. Maybe because there's a written history, but really look at what it really is. I mean, Germany as to what it is new, essentially reformed from the 40s. And you tell me in the comments how long that, I'm not familiar with how long it actually, my wife's a history teacher. My father has masters in history. I've always kind of shunned history, not in a negative sense, just there were so many people around me that I got asked questions from. I can be like, hey, how, and I didn't, so I took a different path. but I still understand some of history. But you, if you're from there or you're familiar with it, how long was the rebuilding? Is it still going on? How long was the rebuilding after this? And so when he says something like so young yet so old, that's that sentiment of like, yeah, we've been here for a while, but kind of a new iteration of Germany after some stuff went down, you know. So, all right, let's catch up where he's at. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything.
Ein Atem kalt, so jung und doch so alt. Deine Liebe ist Fluch und Segen. Meine Liebe kann ich dir nicht geben.
Mein Atem kalt. Mein Atem kalt. My breath is cold. A lot of times when I hear these songs that are in other languages, I do actually like to try to learn. You'll notice on some of my other videos, I listen to a lot of Nightwish and I'm learning Finnish. So when I don't mind listening to the songs in the native language because it helps me learn the language a little bit. So mine. I'm gonna have to go back and look. I didn't, you know, it's gonna take time. But my breath is cold. One thing that the kid that lived with us, he talked about this sentiment and how it's very, it's almost. He had mentioned that these topics are not to be spoken of, kind of taboo. We would use the term taboo, where it's not to be spoken of. It's not popular to speak of these things, and there's a strange part of it for me seeing some of the imagery. I'm not involved in this anymore, but I will tell you when I first came back kind of from my situation where, you know, and if you don't know, because you probably haven't seen many of my videos, maybe this is the first video of mine you've seen. I was not in the music or videos or TV or movies for many years. I was in the Marine Corps, had a lot of trauma, and then ultimately hung myself in a few years after I left the Marine Corps and survived, obviously, in case you don't do math. In that time, I stopped listening to a lot of media because of the emotional impact it had on me. And so I'm not familiar with a lot of these things, but now I'm kind of coming back into them, and there's some imagery. For one, we're showing the form I took. You know, they showed the form I took with, you know, about 18 feet in that direction in my garage is where I did it. And I still walk by it every day. I put my kids in the car standing right above where years ago I was feet off the ground. And so to see it, I never go unscathed with the image. But there's also another layer to it that I began to do a little bit of research after I came out of that. I worked with some scientists and researchers and some other people, and I even started to have like a little bit of faith build up in me, and I for a number of years was a Messianic Jew, and was pursuing possibly becoming a rabbi. You'll notice in a lot of videos I have a head covering. In a lot of videos that came from that, and a little bit before too. It was a practice that I had that would keep me grounded. It was to say, do not think above the place where I stand. And so I would cap my head and say, you are capped. Do not think you are above the place you stand. And so when you see me wearing a cover or a hat all the time, it is for that reason. I don't do it so much anymore. I'm not, I don't practice Messianic Judaism anymore. I did not pursue becoming a rabbi anymore. For one, it was going to take years and years and years. But I see these images of how I did it. And also some of the context that is familiar with me. And there's a lot of controversy in that too. And we're not going to get into it. But this is a troubling video, but kind of in the right way. I know people have problem with this video. I just don't. I think sometimes you got to talk about the wound. It's what I would have done as a counselor. We would have had to dig in. We would have had to pull the Band-Aid off and talk about the wound, or it doesn't heal. And we're talking about a wound right now, and it really kind of is hard to look at.
Deine Liebe ist Fluch und Segen. Meine Liebe kann ich dir nicht geben.
So, I guess this is an ending credits, maybe? That last scene there. This is beautiful. I gotta stop it. I kept saying, like, maybe after this, just because, remember, I have to respect the artists and their copyright because it is their property, but they kept layering more and more and more and more. Was this a killing of the past and a rebirth? Because you have all of these characters that they bring up and they're troubling, and all of a sudden they just annihilate all of them. Like, look, we know this is here. We have history books. We know it's here. What more can we do? Many of the people that are probably everybody who's in this video had no part in what we talk about. No part. Yet they live with the consequence of something they didn't do. And it's kind of, this feels like what more can we do? We didn't do it. It was somebody else. That's what it feels like to me. And in the end, they're just like, it's almost like If I could go back and stop it myself, I would. That's how it feels like the artist, the band is saying. Yeah, it's like asking for, I wouldn't say asking for forgiveness, just saying, look, we didn't do it. Can we be rebirthed into this, please? That's gone. In a way, I kind of feel for him, because at the same time, Russia and, China and Japan, we're all doing things around the world. Don't forget our own 1913 stuff we have here that we barely ever talk about in America. But it was nowhere on the scale of what, Russia and Japan and China and all these different countries were doing at the time. Yet we've given everybody a free pass. We haven't really given Russia a free pass. That's always been this weird sentiment. But I guess as a German, it feels probably weird that it seems like everybody's given all these other countries a free pass, yet we still hold you accountable. And that's kind of where this started, because we were holding you accountable after the Great War, the First World War. And then an uprising happened and things were what they were. And to me, it feels like the artist, the band, what they're saying is, we weren't there. We weren't there. We have things we can offer now. I can appreciate that. But at the same time, we have to be respectful, because there are still people alive today that were alive then. And so we have to handle this with care. It's why I'm trying to be very careful with what I'm saying, because I'm not condoning anything of the past. I'm not the one that offers forgiveness to Germany. I'm not the gatekeeper of any of this. I'm just somebody listening to a song, and I'm trying to interpret that this is somebody saying, please, it wasn't me. Look at how beautiful this place can be. I hate what we did too. That's how I interpret it. You know what is beautiful? That is a beautiful piece. Very hard to watch. Very, very hard to watch. Very troubling. Very upsetting things to see. But if you can turn your brain on and understand what I think is being said, it's a beautiful piece. If you yourself hate Germany for what they did, then you can't hate that song. And if you are German and you feel like everybody got a free pass but you, then you really can't hate that song. Because I believe it is an ode to understanding. It's almost like the artist said, I shouldn't have to say this, but I understand that you don't care that I shouldn't have to say this. It's like when you have something that you have earned and you feel like you're defending yourself. And I get that from the line, so young, so old. The old Germany can't write this song. The old Germany doesn't get to write this song. The old Germany has something in it that doesn't get to write this song, but the new Germany is saying, we have to start somewhere, you know? And if we're writing this song now, you know, 6-7 years ago from what it looks like, okay, then it's quite possible if we have to write this song now, if this band has to write this song now, that means y'all aren't done rebuilding. That's what I take from it. If you have to say this, then it ain't back. And maybe y'all don't want it to be. Maybe that's what the rebirth is. It's like, okay, we don't want the old Germany. Look what we have now. And so am I reading too much into this? There's no way I'm not reading too much into this. It's a powerful piece. I want to take a second. When I'm done here, I thought I was going to go watch Deuschland, but I'm not right now. I'm going to take a day to think about this because there's such a gravity to this. There's a weight to this. And if you're watching this and maybe I address something improperly or insensitively, I apologize. That's not what I'm trying to do. I watch these videos without any context, and sometimes they shock me, and this one is the probably most shocking I've watched. You know, Sabaton had a song that was very shocking, Christmas Truce. But this one was different, and I have no skin in the game. But it feels like an olive branch that the artist knows will be rejected. Kind of like, come on, please. Knowing they'll say no. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. Thank you for letting me stumble through this. I don't know if I'm close or if I'm off, but damn.